And being a practicing shaman for nearly 30 years, I've taken a lot of the different doorways, and I can definitely tell you they're different. Each different key opens a different door. But what's real interesting is when you find yourself out there and you start to look around and the things that you see, like what's really strange is that the things that I've seen over the years that have been very profound visionary experiences were something that was almost like it was prophetic, meaning that I saw that later in life, depicted exactly the same way. And it's because these are these archetypal symbols that you see. They're resonant frequencies that come through our DNA. And it's like Carl Jung talks about the different symbols that we see inside of our brains. Well, the different areas of consciousness, the different doorways that we can open, have been opened for humanity for thousands and thousands of years. In other words, we've been there before. There's a lot of good evidence to show that we go there when we leave.
Well, when you see, let's say, like the Van Allen belt, is it as clear as if you were looking at it with your eyes?
Well, it's much more clear. It's like you're a part of it. It's very hard to describe. I know where you're coming from. Yeah, so that's really the best way I can put it, and it's definitely an acute sense of seeing, and it's different than ordinary.
Did you ever see the movie Contact? One of my favorites of all time.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome. What an awesome movie.
Do you remember the scenes when Jodie Foster was traveling to these other worlds? Have you been able to do that?
Absolutely, and that's exactly what they were talking about. Now, if you think about it, and you look at this thing that they found out, this device that they could build, it's like this very complex thing, right? And what does it look like? It's a big piece going up in the middle, and then a cross going across the top.
Yeah, it's like a gyroscope, sure.
Looks like a big T, the first thing, what does that look like? It's exactly the shape of a mushroom. And then the spores drop off of the bottom of the mushroom. So when you get up on the thing and you're getting ready to ride the ride, you get up on the deal and you're underneath the cap of the mushroom, and it drops you down through this whirling other device that represents, of course, a molecule. Now, these things are all archetypal symbols that are related in the storytelling. These are like modern-day myths. They're like contemporary mythologists giving us stories. Star Wars is full of it. Dune is full of it. All these things have these different archetypal symbols that we can find. Now, when Jodie Foster was inside the capsule and she was whirling all around, I mean, look at the things that she said. She's like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
She's seeing things that are so far beyond her, capacity to understand, and that's what he told her. He said, look, this is something that has been going on for billions of years. It's never been figured out. We can't explain it to you still, even though these beings have been there on Vega or wherever they were.
Yeah, that's it.
For millions of years. They've been there for all this time, and they've been using this technology to go there, the molecular structure technology, and they still can't explain it to her. She can see it, she can look at it, she can almost even touch it when she reaches out and their landscape changes. But there's no way to completely understand it. This is why we're right at the cusp of the Aquarian Age. We're right at the cusp of the age which is going to bring this knowledge into the world. When this knowledge comes into the world and we learn about multidimensional consciousness and we start to actually get a grip on what that means, it's like in the movie Dune. We're talking about movies now. Look at Dune. Spice. Space travel is not possible without spice.
Yeah, that's true. That's what they needed.
It's that multidimensional aspect, and it's what's been ignored. I mean, this knowledge that's coming back into the world, we all know that something is going to come. We all can feel it. It's happening. But what is that? Well, there's a lot of evidence to show that that thing is going to come from our past. A lot of the myths will tell us that it's something that's revealed that was lost long ago. Well, if you look at all of the cultures on the world, all of the cultures, no matter where they were formed, they have plant entheogens at their source, the root source of the religion. Well, it's so easy to see. Always the tribes, the holy man, or the smartest guy in the tribe, who is he? He's the one that knows about the plants.
He knows the plants. He's the so-called medicine man, or whatever you want to call him.
Right. Medicine man, shaman, which the original shaman, the term itself comes from Siberia.
What about witch doctor?
Well, that would be the same term, of course, and you can look at that term in a negative light, or you can look at it in a positive light. I guess it all depends on how indoctrinated you are to look at certain words in certain ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's only a word, isn't it?
That's right. Well, words have a lot of meaning. They have a lot of meaning. And so, it's very important to understand the meaning of words. And you start to look at different secret societies and what they're doing on the planet.
James, in your travels through this consciousness, I mean, can you describe just one of them for me like Jody saw in that movie? I mean, my God, would I love to see something like that.
Well, the archetypes that she saw were when she became aware of her surroundings there. She saw her father, right? So she saw somebody, a being that she recognized as somebody. Well, that's a very common thing, even on lower level planes of consciousness, such as Datura stramonium, which is this desert flower, and this is one of the lower keys, one of the lower doorways that opens into the realm where you see what they call familiars. Now, everybody can recognize the term familiars from the Bible by, it says, watch out for the familiar spirits.
Well, are the experiences real, or are they made up in their minds because of their altered state?
No, they're real. They're real. They're multidimensional. And the question, though, is almost a loaded question. Is it real, or is it just made up in the mind? And what I'm telling you is that it's a combination of both. It's a very hard thing for us to understand, and that's about all that we can say at this point, almost. We could really try to explain it more, and of course I'm going to, but
Yes, you will. I mean, but in your mind,
that's
in your
my
mind,
job, at least as far as what I'm trying to do.
Is there life out there? Have you seen it?
Absolutely. Well, like I said, the Van Allen radiation belt is not just a bunch of energy out there floating around. This is an extremely high-density living organism, or a living realm. There's beings out there. It's a big, it's almost like a gigantic city encapsulating the entire planet. It's huge. It's very powerful, very high density. Lots of beings out there watching what's going on down here in multidimensional consciousness.
You talked about different plants then having the ability to be keys to different doors. How many plants are we talking about?
Well, there's thousands of them.
Thousands that do this. Thousands?
Right. And there's interrelated ones, though, too. There's different chemicals in different plants that are related. Like, there's a whole group of plants that carry, there may be 100 or 200 different ones, and they carry that one particular chemical. Now, there's another chemical that just may be off by one hydrogen, and that one is a different plant, or a different whole other group of plants. But they're all similar. They're related. Most of them are all indole alkaloids, which means
what's the downside, though, James, on some of these? I mean, what happens? Do you overdose on them? Can you get killed? And I'm talking about the ones that you feel comfortable with.
When you mean what are the dangers of them?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say the worst danger of it is, astonishing yourself to death, as Terence McKenna said once. He said you could die from astonishment. But no, probably the most dangerous thing would be to, be in a dangerous circumstance. I mean, if you're in a dangerous circumstance in your natural surroundings, then I guess you'd be in a dangerous circumstance whether you're on one of these substances or not. In other words, if you're next to a cliff, well, you could fall off that cliff. There's nothing to say that you would be more likely to fall off the cliff when you were on psychedelics than not. In fact, I would say that you're probably more likely not to, because you would really recognize the danger. Your heightened sense of awareness would keep you away from the cliff.